We're black rebels, searching for freedom, trying to break these chains from my mind, trying to find the king that lies inside.
We're rolling. And
That's what it is.
I got Haneef Salaam on the Sit Down podcast, and I think I don't talk about it as much as I probably should, and it's not, but it's always in the back of my mind. Like I'm directly working with the kids, and I have my music, and I talk about a lot of different things. But in my opinion, probably the biggest issue and the biggest crime that's still going on in America is the prison industrial complex, which is all us. You know, it's all pretty much black men locked up doing a lot of work for free. In my head, it's modern slavery, and to me, that's the main thing that has to change here. You know what I'm saying? There's so many different issues. Police brutality, I'm bitching about that online all the time because of what's going on, but like, quietly, that's the thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And you are knee deep in trying to fix that problem, right? Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair to say.
So, from your end, what does it take? You've seen it. Like, I work with the young kids, but I haven't really worked with your population, the population that you're an expert with. How do you see it? Like, what needs to happen?
So, it's a complex situation, and before I get into a disclaimer, we are at Bradford Park over South Ridge, land of the mosquitoes.
Yes, I got one with my jeans.
Hey, this was my preference because it's home, but it's been raining a couple days, so if you see us rolling, know that we are in Bradford Park over South.
Right, it's all good though.
But when it comes to just the prison industry, man, it's a complex problem to tackle.
Yes.
So when you say what is needed. I'm a reentry specialist, so we definitely need reentry services, right? Mm-hmm. We actually need a plan that starts with a guy while he's inside and developing his plan for what does coming home look like.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And when individuals come home, they need to have a platform where it's set up for them to be successful, right? Delaware has over 700 collateral consequences. So
what does that mean?
So there are over 700 things that you cannot do in Delaware because you have a criminal background.
Okay.
For one, a felon cannot obtain a license to sell insurance in the state of Delaware.
Gotcha.
Ever.
Yeah.
Once you're convicted, you cannot.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
There are other industries you can't go into with the felony. They may accept a misdemeanor.
Okay.
There are certain state benefits that you are excluded from.
Yep.
Once you are in the criminal justice, housing,
right.
and public assistance, things of that nature.
Yep.
So I do not know them all, but there is reports that have been done. So it's over 700 of these types of
so it's
collateral
basically
consequences in
when you say collateral consequences, it's like basically 700 hurdles you basically
may face after you've done your time and all of your responsibilities to the justice system. Right?
So that's one thing.
That's one thing. Already just being
the
in
700
Delaware.
thing that goes under one. All right.
Just in Delaware, right? So we need a platform where people could be successful.
Yep.
Where they could get coaching and support to get over these hurdles.
Yep.
Because some are not even known until you try. You might try to go to school and say, oh, well, you can't go to school for this industry.
Yep.
Due to the fact that you have a criminal background, right?
Right.
So you need case management.
Yep.
You need cognitive behavior intervention training, all things done.
How does that work from your end? Like, how does the cognitive intervention work?
Well, through groups.
Okay.
Through group. Yep. I would call it group therapy, but we just call it groups. Right?
Okay. Yep.
So these groups are based around a curriculum that's evidence-based. I'm a big component of evidence-based practices.
Yeah.
Because if this curriculum helped 1,000 people in Ohio, let me try it in Delaware.
Right, right.
As opposed to trying a curriculum, I don't have any evidence that it ever helped anybody.
It doesn't make any sense. You just
these are things we used to do.
Really?
Evidence-based curriculums is a fairly new term. You hear a lot of people saying that nowadays. Oh, this is an evidence-based approach, and you didn't hear that 10 years ago.
Fair enough. How long have you been working in this business?
Probably about 15 years now.
That's a long time. You're definitely an expert.
Yeah.
Like, so let me check this because I forgot to put the thing on D&D, and I want to make sure I'm not getting it. Yeah, we're good. I'm gonna keep jumping up now because I don't want to stop it and put it in D&D. Anyway, so 15 years is a long time. What was like year one? Did you have like an official job, or you kind of just volunteered? Like, I'm gonna help these brothers out. Like, what was the first thing?
I mean, I kind of just dove in on a voluntary basis.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out why the problems exist. You know, back to your original question, outside of creating a platform for people, I began to learn that, you know, the prison industry is very lucrative for suppliers of the prison industry.
Yes. How did you learn that?
Just research, bro.
Just reading and reading.
Just Googling and not taking the surface level answers, not taking the surface level stuff that I found.
Yeah.
And once I began volunteering and going to meetings where they are there for reform and help, because if you're familiar with the political system, we always have task force, we always have meetings where we're trying to brainstorm solutions. So I used to go in these meetings and ask real questions.
Right.
Like, why does it cost $34,000 a year to house an individual in jail?
Is that just the housing part as an example?
No,
that's just the total
it's
cost
housing, it's the clothing, it's the food, and the services. So, I mean, I'm paying COs, like,
so
your programming is weak, but, you know, so $34,000 per person.
So we could see. This could be a 5-hour podcast, bro.
It's complex. So you got to address some of these things and bring some of these things to light and see where are those dollars going, right? And then once you understand that the dollars aren't going into the African American community, and then proportionally everyone housed, or the majority of the people housed in your prisons are African American. Now that's where a major problem comes, and we start to say, what can we do that so many black people are not in jail? But then it gets even more complex, because now you're talking about centuries of systems of oppression, right?
Absolutely.
You know, we have a crime problem in the city. Crime's out of control, right?
Yep.
But let's not act like these young guys who are perpetrating their violent acts and carrying guns was not born into a system designed for them to be the way it is.
Like, we know that in depth. And I have this much hope because I do see, like, my wife, okay? My wife is white. My wife grew up in Harrington, Delaware. 4 years ago, she knew nothing about this conversation. And now, fortunately, she's not only taking it upon herself to read up on stuff, but like hers, like, there are places from her district where she's reading up on these things, and like she's like, oh, and I was like, yeah, this is like not so, you know. I think that the conversation's getting moved forward a little bit more, but nowhere near enough, because if we get online right now and I say something about systematic racism, I'm sure it's easy to find 6 out of 10 white people will be like, what are you talking about? You had choices, this, that, and the other, and they'll start giving you an argument as to why that, what do you prove that it exists? You know what I'm saying?
So check this, Jay,
right.
Because language is key.
Right.
And that's why I avoid the racism topic. Racism. I said systematic oppression. Right?
Yeah,
I can explain this.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's just leave race out of it, right?
Oppression.
Yeah.
Right?
I dig it.
Homestead Act. Let's go back.
Word.
A little bit of history. The Homestead Act in the 1600s said for any person not black who shows proof of identity, you are able to travel across the Mississippi and claim up to 50 acres of land.
How much acres? Like, how big is South Ridge? Anyway, you know what I'm saying?
That's
like,
a Homestead Act. That was a government act. People don't understand these like things.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
Redlining. When they implemented redlining in the 70s and the 80s.
I think that's one of the biggest things.
When they came out with FHA loans, forgiveness loans, where they said if you are non-black, we are going to show you these nice new built developments you could live in. Even if you find a nice house in black areas, you can't get these loans. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I know what you're saying.
So now when I say 400 years later after slavery, provide business startup money for just black people to help us balance that system of oppression. No other race of people was oppressed like that.
No,
no
it's
one.
a completely different
and
thing.
if they was, they got their just dues.
Yes. I don't, it's not an argument. It's a factual thing. Like, and you can, like, I just read a book and it's there. So as you go about trying to change some of these things, do you see pushback at this level? You know what I'm saying? Like, blatantly, like, we're not.
Of course.
Yes.
Of
right.
course.
Right.
And see.
What are some of the? Don't name anybody, but like, what? Give me some specifics about the kind of pushback you hear. Like, you'll suggest this, and someone will be like, no, because da.
Give you a perfect example, right? So one thing I've learned in advocating for my people is to be strategic.
Okay.
And when I say being strategic, a lot of times we come to the table or we approach a situation angry.
Sure.
Do right by our kids. You haven't been doing right.
Mm-hmm.
Give us this now because it's. And the answer we get is like, hold on, you need to think this out. It's not that simple.
Mm-hmm.
And that's normally what we got. And I noticed that. So that frustrated me. So I said, let me not go with an angry approach. So now when I approach it in a way where I'm able to effectively communicate the problem
mm-hmm.
and offer up viable solutions.
Mm-hmm.
And the pushback I get is, let us look into it. I need some more data to see if what you're saying is accurate.
Yeah.
So that's the pushback, man.
Right.
So without naming names, like, because I'm on a campaign right now, police reform. I'm saying,
perfect example.
And Operation Safe Streets. Safe Streets is a tandem of probation officers with police departments across the state.
Yes.
So we talking about WPD, State PD,
mm-hmm.
Dover PD,
yes.
Sussex PD.
Yes.
Probation just says, come on with us, a couple of cops,
mm-hmm.
and that way we can search and frisk whoever we want.
Okay.
But we're going to get guns off the streets. The one thing you hear about people who are advocates of safe, they get guns off the streets. They don't talk about the thousands of people whose rights they violated getting these guns off the streets. So I said, end Operation Safe Streets right
mm-hmm.
now. And
mm-hmm.
every time this is something you can do now, allow the cops to be cops,
mm-hmm.
because I want safe communities.
Of course.
So if you do something, I want to know I have a cop force that's intelligent enough and strategic enough to stop criminals.
Okay,
right?
so
And
you do feel like we
probation.
do need the police, and I don't.
Yeah, nah. Defund doesn't mean snatch their money.
It doesn't.
Means stop paying overtime while crime's going up and reinvest some of that money in the people.
Okay, cool,
right?
cool.
So, and
totally
Operation
reasonable.
So I've taken this to the elected officials that would be within that process.
Yes.
And everybody's saying, Haneef, you're raising a good point, but we need data.
But what data do they want? Like, where is the proof going to come from? Because it's like, okay, on one hand, we have, what was the term that you used, we were talking about earlier, where you have data-driven...
Evidence-based.
Evidence-based, right? So we clearly understand the need for that, but there's also, this is something that we haven't ever done before, so, you know, this is a reasonable thing. Can we try it at all? And I don't want to get on a soapbox right now, but, like, to me, Delaware is so small, like there's every opportunity in every place to be innovative because we're small enough to take risks. It's not like you're putting all of Manhattan on this program. This is like, it's cheap.
It's Delaware. So what I do
Keep going,
is,
I'm listening.
because that's politics, what I do is I take and say, okay, you need data to understand my point. That's fair to say.
Mm-hmm.
But I need for you to stop using the language you're using. Safe Streets gets guns off the streets. Where's the data? Where's the data?
No,
Show me how many guns Safe Streets took off the streets. Where's that data? You see what I'm saying? And then they can't give me that. Then I say, okay, show me how many people Safe Streets arrested over the past year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we can't give you that. So that takes it to the state level with this law enforcement task force. And that's going to be my big thing. I'm on the Transparency and Accountability Subcommittee. So now I get to talk to the FOP and say, where's the data? Show us.
I really want to dig into that part of it because this is being, you know, floated as one of the big places where there's going to be potential change, right? So we have the task force. Like, do you have any idea at this point, if you can talk about it, like what your role is going to be? And like, the main thing I want to know is specifically with you, like what you can do, but I also want to know generally, like what, if something goes wrong, like what are the avenues for repercussions if a cop fucks up? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do we do? Please.
So currently, we call and make a report to the cops that the cop fucked up, and nothing's gonna happen.
Okay.
That's our current process.
Right.
The law enforcement task force is going to change little to none of that. My role in
Why do you say that?
Task forces rarely do.
Right.
Some people who are effective in changing legislation say that task force is where new legislation and laws go to die. Right? It's just going to be talked about. They're going to give a bunch of suggestions.
Yeah,
and then the politicians are going to say, let me look into those suggestions.
That's what I feel like.
My role on the so I'm not appointed to the task force. The task force has 4 subcommittees.
Okay.
And through the work of the Smart Justice Coalition, in my opinion, they added some community individuals and leaders to these subcommittees. I was assigned to the transparency and accountability. Okay. So what I'm going to come in is with language from professionals who know what it takes to change the laws, to make it fair ground for our people, to be able to hold police officers accountable to the table, and be able to ask directly to lawyers, leaders of the FOP, leaders of these police forces. Why not go with this data I'm providing you,
right,
and begin to make what y'all doing transparent? Check this out, Jay. There is no industry in this country outside of policing where you can keep all the information to yourself and say we're effective. Teachers can't do it. Schools can't do it. Restaurants can't do it. Yeah. You cannot serve a group of people specifically off of taxpayer dollars and say we're going to tell you nothing about what we're doing except for we're doing it right to our standards.
You know, it doesn't make any sense, and we could rant about this forever.
But this is why cops are killing people, because the police feel like they are a government and they are a ruling entity of their own.
No,
we govern the people, we lay the law, and there is no law to us.
Yep.
Going back to Operation Safe Streets, if Safe Streets harasses a person, if they come in right now, Operation Safe Streets, and harass us,
right,
I don't know who to call to file a report. Do I call probation? No, I'm not on probation. Do I call the police? No, because they know nothing about their officers that are participating in Operation Safe Streets. So I don't even have nobody to call and report and say they violated my rights. It's unconstitutional. Completely. But it goes back to the prison system. They want to feed the money machine. So they come into urban communities, African American communities, and hunt us. You see what I'm saying?
I know.
Literally hunt, and at times force things on you. And I find this to be true because I think that's the big reason why they can't solve real crimes. When I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, cops, they weren't on a hunting mission. They were protecting and serving the communities for the most part.
So in the 80s, you think that was that dramatic of a change between 80s and now?
Man, what?
Yeah.
80s, 90s, we didn't have... we didn't have 20 shootings, let alone 20 murders.
But you still...
people got to... I mean, I know a lot of OGs that's doing a lot of time in jail, man, because they got caught for serious offenses, right, wrong, or indifferent. Right? Yeah, we could say we're oppressed, but I mean, at the end of the day, we have a decision, break the law, not break the law.
Sure.
You break the law and get caught, you get what's coming. But look at our murder conviction rate here. 2%?
Yep.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Look at our shooting arrest percentage. Something like 2-3%. So when you're talking about 120 shootings, I'm not sure the murder count right now, 30-something, maybe. And we talking about no arrests?
I think it's more than that actually right now.
No arrests, but the jails are still crowded? Like, what are we really doing with policing? And tell me what industry where they wouldn't put pressure on you and say, what the hell are you doing right now? You've locked up hundreds, maybe thousands of people last year, but crime is at all-time high.
And I think you can make the same point with the prison industrial complex. Because if on paper, and I don't know what their job is, but for the person who's never had anything, who's totally naive, you think that the prison, like you send the person to jail to fix them, and then they come out a better person. And if they're tasked with the role of rehabilitating someone who breaks the law, they never do, right? They never do. It's not like, what's the recidivism? What's the actual recidivism rate right now still?
It's 73%.
Is it only 73%? So you failed 73% of the time. You're right. If 73% of the songs that I wrote suck dick, like, sorry, then I would not be a successful musician.
But to your point, and not just the jail system, but so Department of Corrections as a whole. If you pull up the Department of Corrections, they say their mission is to rehabilitate individuals in a safe environment.
It's definitely a safe environment. Number one.
They're not creating a safe environment.
I mean, come on.
And they're not rehabilitating people. I mean, when you look at the probation report, right? The ACLU just created a probation report. It's online, www.peoplenotprobation.com is the all new probation report.
Okay.
That report shows that 94% of the individuals on probation are reincarcerated due to a technical violation, not a new charge.
See, and I have
94%, bro.
How you doing? I work with the young kids. I'm with the you know Jahidi for sure.
Yeah.
So he's my boss, Ian Smith, and I've worked with him for about 5 years now. It's re-entry for the young boys.
Right.
And my kids are pretty much between 16 and 18. And I see the same thing. It's always something stupid that gets them back in trouble. 9 times, I mean, they still go hard. But most of the times when they get sent back or don't finish the program successfully, it's because it's those little hurdles like you're talking about. And I have a question for you, because this was I had a conversation with a guy maybe 3 years ago who was doing similar work to you, and he was definitely OG. Like, he's been there, done that, seen a whole lot of shit. He was in his 30s, and I went to him. I was like, "Yo, what's your advice for me working with the kids in this age group?" And he was like, "Bro, and you got the worst ones because of their age. Like, they don't have any concept of the future or getting out of it. This is just what they do. Like, if they're in that mode right now, you just hope they survive and make it to 25, 26 when they're finally sick of the lifestyle, and then they start to do something." Do you see that? Have you seen that? Do you feel that way? You know what I'm saying?
So I agree with the mind frame of the young fellas right now. I feel like, yes, we dealing with a generation who has no regard for life, their life or any other life. I disagree with the solution. See, this is where the conversation goes back to creating people, giving people a platform to be successful.
Yeah.
For our younger generation, we have to teach them financial literacy, one.
Sure.
Money is one thing that grabs a lot of young people's attention.
I was just listening to a podcast.
But they don't know how to add up 6 figures.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They don't know how to create a budget where it's revenue and cost. How much are you bringing in? How much do you need to kick out? Right? Intrigue them with money, but then, like, we got to strike these young people's brain. Our young generation is the most intelligent generation in a long time, in my opinion, because of their quick learning of technology.
Sure.
You give a 4-year-old your phone, they'll get it unlocked and everything.
Nope, literally. Nope.
So we need to create a platform with startup money for businesses, for our young people. Allow them to be young entrepreneurs. You can convince a lot of young boys to put guns down if you say, "Come over here, stick with me for 6 months. I'm going to teach you about money, and then I'm going to give you your own business."
Yeah.
And a lot of them will be successful. So these are new things that we got to start doing. And this is where I talk about economic equality and racial equality. Give us our own homestead act. Give us our own redlining act. And that looks like investing in entrepreneurship and then giving families the capability to be homeowners. Do you know how much of our working population in Wilmington can truly afford to have their own house? So we having a problem with the land bank houses and the city's whole housing projects for, abandos. And we ain't got to dive deep into that. But if you gave up the money, give it up. You sitting on bread.
Right.
Give up the money for a current city or resident that could provide proof they can afford the mortgage, fix that abando up, and allow them to move in and start paying off that mortgage themselves for it to be theirs at a reasonable price.
So, yes, going back to the hurdles that you see when you have these conversations, is it, and again, I don't have to name names, but is it mainly politicians and people who are in power positions who will bring the most resistance to this? And if it is those people, do you think this is something whereas if we got someone like you in office and got other people who get it, that you could make the change that way? Do you think that is a way? You know what I'm saying? Or is it at such a high level that it's like...
So yes, so there is elected officials and authority makers that, yes, impede the process of creating these resources.
Right?
Right? But I'm going back to systems of oppression, so I'm not sure that if I was elected mayor, I could make the whole city of Wilmington right. Because what rules is the mayor governed under that I don't quite understand that will prevent me from making sure all of my residents are straight?
But
through the state, the Wilmington, the state is funny. We're under the state, but they don't support us because they're our own municipality. City council can't change the city of Wilmington at whole. You know what I'm saying? You have corporations invested in this city.
But
you know, who's sitting at the table making a deal with the business people and inviting them in? Like, it's more getting elected at that end. So if I was elected governor, vote me for governor 2024. But if I was elected for governor, yes, I can make a lot of this happen because you're the top of the house.
But you know what? Like, yes, I totally get it. But I also feel like, and again, I'm kind of woefully ignorant about this, but like, I don't know exactly what their line items in their budget are and what kind of money they can play with, but even with just summer youth, the summer youth program, I know that only costs like $100K to spend for the year when they spend that, and I know that there's got to be places where they invest in this and technology and whatever else, but like even just if we took that $100K from the city budget and instead of just giving kids part-time summer money, like if we invested that money into them building a business long-term, right? Isn't that a potential solution that the city could say, all right, we're voting on this and this money's going to that? I feel like that's something that you can do.
Yeah, but you know how we get that though, Jay, quicker than electing the right person? Community organizers. So we all got.
Where's the money come from?
It comes from the city.
Okay.
Mayor Prizicki could do it.
Right.
But it takes 1,000 residents to go to the city, county, but go to his office every day,
right,
and say, Mayor Prizicki, we want you to fund this initiative.
Well, we're not going to vote you in again. Is that pretty much it? Right? Yeah. Okay.
And even when you're voted in, I mean, because it's an election cycle, you know what I mean? I'm being somewhat political. I'm not going to say. I'm going to educate the people on to what's going on currently.
Yep.
But elect or not elect, because okay, we could hypothetically say the people could get around and say, Velda Potter, Justin Wright, we want you. You're our next mayor. Right. Does that guarantee Velda or Justin is going to put $100,000 into youth startup businesses?
Absolutely not. It doesn't guarantee it, but
it takes, even once your elected officials get elected, you got to get out to the polls.
Sure.
Voting is important. Get out to vote. The primary is September 14th, less than 2 weeks away.
Thank you.
Probably less than that when you see this. So, get out and vote. In Wilmington, the primary is more important than the general election.
Thank you.
We are about to decide who our mayor, city council president, and city council electives, including our treasurer and some off spots, right now, September 14th. So get out and vote.
It's bad right now.
South Ridge mosquitoes, they're the worst in the city. But once people get out to vote, we have to understand as a people, we have the right to get them to do what they want to do. Yeah. When you look at suburban communities, you go out there and that community say we need a playground for our kids.
Now wait a minute.
It's done.
Now wait a minute.
$500K, bang.
Yes.
Hey, we are feeling unsafe because of the burglaries at the 7-Elevens. Oh, extra patrolman, bang. Like, so we don't quite organize, because if they don't provide that to those suburban communities, you're going to have every white person from that development show up to the town building, the city county building, and demand what they're asking for.
Yep.
And we have to do that as a people.
So I think you're right. I don't think there's anything to argue with. Like, clearly you can't just be like, city council, fix our problem. You got to have an organized force. duh, right? Side issue, sort of, when you said bear. This is something that I have started to see, and I think that it actually points to what you were saying a little bit earlier about, if you were governor. Because when I first started with the YAP program, one of the things that shocked the hell out of me, this was 5 years ago, is how many kids I was starting to go out, like they were from the city, but who now reside in Bear and are off Route 40.
Gentrification.
Yo, some of my main shooters were out behind 40 off of the Kmart back there wilding out. And it's like, you can push people out if you want to, but the underlying problem isn't going to stop. Like,
now,
poverty is poverty.
Jay. And now this is my perspective.
Now the problem's on the county.
And I told you I'm going to go wherever you go.
Yeah. All right.
They don't care.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care. Because behind...
You mean in the county?
The powers that be.
Mm-hmm.
No, the powers that be. Now, the neighbors and the residents are screaming their heads off. Now, you're right.
Yeah.
They're screaming.
Like, what the hell did this happen?
That don't care because of the point of gentrification. Those young guys are now residing out there because of when they tore the bucket down over 2-6 and build the East Lake houses.
Right.
Although the East Lake is a mixed development with some subsidized housing,
right.
Majority of those individuals were given vouchers to the suburbs.
Right.
They're tearing down Riverside now.
Yes.
Same thing's about to happen.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who lose their Section 8 or housing authority houses in the city are guided towards properties in the county because they want it safer for more white people to move into the city. And
right.
This is what a lot of people are up in arms about with, of course, our local election.
Yeah, but...
Because you're trying to push us out, but it does not, to your point, it does not get rid of the problem.
The problem is going to keep happening.
And I feel like it's going to get worse in those silos because now you have individuals living in the development. There's no close supermarkets. There's no close... everybody has to walk to get to their basic need essential, and it's limited public transportation in these areas. Mm-hmm. So now they're just confined in their areas carrying guns.
And some of the worst drug addiction that I have seen was in suburban, in some poor suburban white houses, which means that there's a huge market there to capitalize on. It's just like you see all of those different pieces falling together, and it's like, again, we already said it, but like you're just moving the problem to a different location.
And it's like they redline in the suburbs because you don't see it all across the county.
Right.
You see it in pockets.
Right.
Right now in this one little area, this 20 acres is predominantly African American.
I remember, this is probably 2 years ago, I was at the Royal Farms outside of Dover, and like, I know the city. I'm comfortable pretty much you could throw me anywhere. Like, I'd rather not be on Clifford Brown at 3 in the morning, you know what I'm saying? That's not smart. But I was in that Royal Farms in Dover, like, this shit. Like, I felt unsafe. I was like, nah, I'm ready to go back to the city. Like, but that's part of what I'm saying. Yeah. It's like, this thing, it's just moving. Like, you got to solve the...
Here we go. Back to the connection, in my opinion, the connection of poverty and crime.
Yes, that's all it is.
So whether you're here,
doesn't matter.
You're in the county, you're in Dover, provide me with an opportunity to be successful. One thing that I've noticed, being in this field so long, when you look at employment opportunities, we are actually regressing when it comes to how employers look at people with a criminal background. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I would have said, right now, anybody, well, not 10 years ago, but 2014, 15, 16, I'd have said, you could get a job if you want one. Right. And that still stands true, but that is a minimum wage job now.
Yep.
When you look at anything over $11 an hour, they want a driver's license and a clean background.
And that's still tough to get by on.
That's tough.
You know what I mean? Even at that.
10, you can't live off 10, 11.
No.
Even if you and your significant other is making 10, 11, you're struggling in Delaware.
You're struggling, for sure. Anyway.
You know what I mean? The livable wage, one adult, one child, is $13.35 in Delaware. And livable wage says just your basic essentials.
Right.
Right?
And where you live it. You know what I'm saying?
But you talking about the minute that you want more than 11, I can't have a criminal background or a license. So how am I going to realistically feed my family? And why should I change?
Right.
Why not get thousands of dollars the way I know how if I can't get it legally? And I'm suggesting they have millions, billions, and trillions to offer.
So what, I mean, in terms of what you've experienced and people that you've worked with, is there like, do you see just a giant spectrum of different things that they want to get involved with, or is everybody saying like we just want to, you know, have our own business selling this, or do you have like, does anybody say I want to be a scientist and I want to be a tech person and I want to be, you know, just a wide, I want to be a mechanic, I want to work on bikes, whatever. Do you see a wide spread of people? Was it all like,
no, what I see is...
what do they want to do? Like, what kind of jobs could these people...
They don't know, so we even have to help people to understand the possibilities.
Right.
I see a strong sense of hopelessness. Haneef, is no need in thinking about what I want to do, because unrealistically... How realistic is it for me to be a scientist, Haneef? How realistic is it for me to work in a bank, Haneef? You know what I mean?
Yes.
How realistic is this for me before we even discuss what path that I should be trying to take? So it's a deep sense of hopelessness, but I also see a strong desire for people who are living in the streets to want to do something different with their life.
So,
and they try, and they go work at ShopRite 3 weeks, quit, and go back to what they know.
Because
so the desire to change is there, but yeah, do I need to spend some time to teach them what they really, help them find out what they really want to do? Yes.
But you figured it out, right?
Yeah.
So how did you figure out, because I mean, how did you make that switch? You know what I'm saying? Like, you figured it out and got yourself together. You know what I'm saying?
So when you look
that's
at
why
my
you're so
story,
valuable.
And when you look at my story, it's a lesson that I teach people on self-accountability too. So when you look at my story, I turned my life around due to the fact that I missed the pregnancy of my oldest daughter.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Even I was living in the streets, I was stuck in a mind frame similar as a lot of people today.
Sure.
That this is the only way. I know I probably could try some other things, but it's not worth it. I'd rather take my chances of jail and death and live this good life fast rather than live a slow, square, miserable life. And that was my perspective.
Sure.
Right? But I wanted kids, so if anything did happen to me, my legacy would live on.
Sure.
So then when I missed the pregnancy and birth of my daughter, it just changed my whole thinking. Like, so I came home from her. So coming home, I faced getting turned down by 99 employers. I had to take a job with Fridays, waiting tables. That was the only job I could do. This was 2003. When I came home for the last time. And I'm talking about, to me, waiting tables was like embarrassing. Like,
sure.
I'm waiting tables, grabbing dirty plates and all this for tips. You know what I'm saying? $100 in tips was a good night for me when I'm like, but I was willing to start at the bottom and do whatever it took to be successful off the strength of my daughter. And not a lot of people have that willpower.
It's tough.
We have to coach the others who don't have it.
So you, Fridays, and then what's after Friday?
So working on Fridays, save up money. Partner with family. Started getting more familiar with carpentry and home renovations.
How?
And doing my own work. So I went to Delaware Skills Center in the mix of going back and forth.
Okay.
Right? And was certified carpenter.
Okay.
Right.
So you did learn something there. Yeah. I mean, I don't know shit about carpentry.
I mean, I got locked up. I went to Delaware State, so I was never done. I got locked up while I was at Delaware State. That's where I caught my charge.
Okay.
Right. After I beat the case or whatever, I ended up getting house arrest or whatever, diversion program, whatever they gave me.
Yeah.
I went to Delaware Skills Center. Like, I'm not going to college no more, but I understood that I needed a skill to be successful in life. Selling drugs wasn't going to last forever. That's what I'm going to do for right now, but... Hey, at 40 or something like that.
Right.
Or I could learn how to fix houses and start my own business and put the money and, you know what I mean, transition that way. You know, that was a bright idea I had. So, you know, never took advantage of it after Delaware Skills Center and getting a job in it.
Okay.
But after I came home from jail one time, partnered with my cousin who had just started a home renovation business. You know what I'm saying? And he would take me on a lot of jobs. And I gained more experience and watched him. And I watched it was simple as him starting out networking to family and friends. Hey, I have a home renovation business. You need some work done. I can come do the work. So then I was like, I could make that happen. So I dove into that. You know what I mean? And did real good for myself. Was fairly lucrative. But then I got in a car accident.
Oh.
And I fractured my collarbone and 4 ribs.
Wow.
So it took construction off the table. It took me a 12-month physical rehab to get back right.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was looking at what would I do next, Public Allies Delaware fell in my lap. Like,
I didn't know you were Public Allies.
It was the only thing that would hire.
Did you work with Tizzy? When were you there?
I came the year after
Tizzy.
The year
after Tizzy. That's really cool.
Yeah.
They really have a great legacy there.
Yeah,
Side
do.
topic, but
they do.
They
Public
really have
Allies
a great
Delaware.
legacy.
Public Allies Delaware, I think they starting their new class, but if you're interested in nonprofits, you need to look into
But that's so cool that they not only allowed you to be because they could very well be like, oh, we don't have anyone in criminal history,
Right.
But that's really great on their behalf. So you became a public ally. That's so cool.
Public Allies.
That's like a badge of, that's a real, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah.
And I mean, to add the stamp their credibility, Public Allies taught me how to communicate again.
Right.
Like I was still talking street lingo. 0405, I was, you know what I mean? You fuck is y'all talking about?
Right,
like,
right.
And trying to make a point.
Right,
Until I
right.
had real teammates to say, Haneef, we don't understand all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I had
it's
to
that code switching, that's all.
sit back and really learn how to effectively communicate.
Mm-hmm.
How can I describe the life of an everyday young boy thug to an individual that's never witnessed urban living a day in their life?
Right.
You know what I mean? So then I started mastering that type of talk. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? How can I talk to these other people in my mind?
Yeah.
And so they helped me with that. They put me in settings around people that I just wouldn't be around. I met Marla Blunt Carter, and she's been a real inspiration in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Someone I look at as a mentor. And that was all through the Public Allies energy and them building me up to be a nonprofit leader.
Got you. So then, this is really interesting. So Public Allies to what?
To working in Philly. So 2 years at Public Allies, nobody in Delaware still want to hire me because of my background.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm getting references from Senator Biden's office because Marla, he was Senator Biden at the time. She's working out his office. She loves me. I got recommendation letters, phone calls from other people I've done Public Allies work with, and they all were just like, oh, do the federal grants. We can't hire anyone. Blah, 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 blah.
Just a bunch of people, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, former ally who was working, her name is Janelle Fletcher.
Okay.
I think she's married now. She might not be Fletcher, but
Mm-hmm.
she was working in Philadelphia
She related to Charlotte?
for a welfare to work program. I'm not sure, but she started working up Philly after her Public Allies stint.
Okay.
And she came we had these presentations of learning at Public Allies.
Okay.
So my second year, everything on the line. The seniors, I was working with the senior center, and they loved me, but they said, Haneef, your future is not seniors. We don't want to hold you back.
Yeah.
So still was great. And the second year allies with no job.
Wow.
Do the presentation of learning, and Janelle is one of the panelists, and she says, my job's hiring right now. I could get you in no matter your background. I'm going to give you the information after this session. Apply to that. So got a job for a welfare to work program, which basically the job was helping women on public assistance in Philly get jobs. Excelled at that, became director of job development and case management while in Philly. And then I just had a deep desire to bring the skills that I learned back home.
So, two things I'm thinking about. It's like, okay, it's two pieces. Like, on one hand, you know, if you can do it, anybody can do it.
Right.
But you went through a lot. That's a big, humbling process. It's a different kind of grind. That's frustration. Most people don't get to where you are because they don't have that. And I feel like, tell me if I'm wrong, that it shouldn't be that hard. Like, thank God we have strong men like you who can get through that. But like the average cat can't do that. So it can't be that hard. Like on one hand, it's like, well, anybody can do it if you did it. But it's like, nah, it was too much. Like that man's you're a mule. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody doesn't have that capacity.
And that's what drives my passion to create programs.
Where it's
to
not so damn
advocate
hard.
for people. It shouldn't be. You know, when I came back to Delaware, now we talking about 2009, 2010, re-entry still wasn't a term.
That's crazy.
In
I'm laughing.
2010. And I
we're
joined
so
with,
behind.
it's amazing how this thing breaks races sometimes. I met 2 white individuals, Paula Marano and John Schufert. They were both doing things inside the prison through the AVP, which is like Alternative to Violence Project that does volunteer work in prisons. And they were on the mission to make sure guys had resources when they came home from jail.
It's like, what else do you expect?
And we formed the Delaware Reentry Consortium. We started advocating heavy with Markel, sat down with him, helped come out, among others, I don't want to take all the credit, but Executive Order 7, IADAP, which demanded DOC come up with a reentry plan to better address people coming home. You see what I'm saying? So by then, that was like 2012-ish. And I just been fighting ever since, man. To like,
has this become your real passion at this point? Like, this is your thing?
Yeah, it's reentry, but now it is. I'm changing it to economic. I'm not changing it. I'm a reentry specialist.
Sure.
Chris deemed me that, so I like Chris. Delaware don't give me that credit.
What's the
sometimes
nonprofit you work with?
Wilmington Hope Commission.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Got
so I work with the Wilmington Hope Commission.
Yeah. All right.
I've started a small business in the past, and often do workshops or consulting on the side. So I'm a reentry specialist. You know what I mean? But the real key is economic development, economic equality. You know what I mean? Because prison reform, police reform, these are not just the issues. We need education reform. You know what I'm saying?
Well, this is
we need financial literacy. We need parenting guidance. Like, there's some young parents who just don't understand how to be good parents. Like, it's a lot of components to this, but the heart of it, the baseline, to me,
is how you pay your bills.
Economic development.
I mean, isn't that the bottom line?
Create a foundation to be successful, more people will be better. Look at other races. No race is perfect.
Right.
Everybody has their problem family members within their family.
Right.
But there's no excuses there because the platform is here, and this is what I call the net philosophy. So I was able to make it out. You know, if you're doing pretty good, we should together set out a net to be able to catch as many people as we can. And the people that want to come, it should be opportunities and resources available for them to be successful. And then the people who are just ignorant or stubborn right now, then they stay till they're ready to come.
I'm sure you're really good at telling, like, he ain't ready. Like, how do you...
You present it because, see, I am good at telling, but I don't put that on brothers and sisters no more.
Right.
Because just because I'm not ready doesn't mean I don't need the information.
Right. Because even though you might, I see what you're saying, even though this might not be the last time you get in trouble, you're still putting little, you know, you just learn something. You still learn something. You still learn something.
Old head saying, boy, you bigger than that. You shouldn't be ripping around the streets.
And that's always in your head.
Boy, you better go to work. Yeah, that drug shit ain't going to pay for long. Boy, you dumb for being out here. Boy, you going to be dead in jail. Boy, you going to be a bum in the park. Now, I defied those odds.
But it was always there.
Look how many people that didn't. And they always told me.
Yeah.
So now, this is why I can't look down on our youth no more. Because so many of us, and I was a victim of this years ago, we quick to say, oh, these youth are too far gone. Oh, they too crazy. They too this. No, tell them anyway.
Dude, you know one of the things that I have seen with the youth, so yeah, they're difficult because they're 16, 17, number one, and because they're coming from a really, difficult circumstances. But the flip side of that, and I've said this before on the podcast, is that it's almost unfair how easy it is to connect with these kids. Because I'm telling you,
they're reaching for love.
Bro, it's like
all they want is love and genuine care for my future.
Bruh, to be in my circle takes a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to have some history. We have to, you got to earn my trust. Right. I could work with this young man for 2 weeks, and he's looking at me as like big uncle. I'm like, bro, you really trust me now. And it's like great because I have your trust, but it's like, damn, it's that easy to get your trust. You know what I'm saying? And I think my point, is that you're right. So we got to go back and show love, presenting opportunities. Yeah. Because here's why I say you're not ready doesn't mean you can't change. See, stubborn and ignorant means I showed you the way and you're still saying no. But if I have a conversation with a young boy and he say, Haneef, man, I'm seeing $4,000 or $5,000 a day. I'm carrying my strap because I don't know who coming for me, and it is what it is. But I say, good brother, you know that this is only going to last you a good 6 to 18 months tops. You're going to be dead or in jail, right? But
if you willing to take this last $4,000 you got and sit on that and come over here and let me teach you how to start a business, how to create an app, how to do something somebody's never done before, that young man might put his strap and his drugs down and say, I need come on.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I know what you're saying, of course.
So we gotta have that love for our young people, and we gotta pour into them and encourage them and show them ways. It's not all about asking them what they want to do. Tell them about some shit they don't know about. You know what I'm saying? Black doctors, black scientists in real life. Black teachers. You know, just with a diploma, they can take the Teach for America test and be in our schools. That would fix a lot of our schools, but we don't educate our youth on the possibilities because they don't listen or they're too far gone. You know what I'm saying? So
I'm curious to know your thoughts about this idea. Tell me how wrong I am. But so on one hand, coming from certain circumstances, it's really, really hard to get up and get your shit together, you know. But on the other hand, I've said this before too, I feel like if you can just get these kids to graduate high school, you know, bottom line, as an American, if you can just graduate high school and get yourself a basic degree, I don't give a shit what it could be. I have the dumbest degrees possible. I have a degree in psychology. I have a bachelor's in psychology. Worthless degrees. But I can still pay my bills. At this point, it's cake. I'm not balling. I can't take...
But you got a livable wage opportunity.
I got a livable wage opportunity. That's it. I pay for my car. I pay for food on the table. I have a house where it's safe and comfortable. It's not a mansion, but right. I don't need that. And it could be that simple for them, just go ahead. I know we have all this conversation about, the racist education system, which it is, but at the same time, just get your diploma, get your fucking degree.
Get to it.
Just go teach,
but
do something.
We need coaching, so
yeah.
This is where city politics is important. Look at the community centers from when we grew up to now.
Everyone knows that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And we had community outreach workers, so some of our community centers, neighbor house right here,
yep.
You don't even have people in the community working in there. So you got people from cross town. When it's a community center on their side of town, they're coming over here to this community center, bringing the youth and the neighbors that they have from cross town. The people in this community is looking sideways.
Yeah.
And then now you don't even really have an arm to recruit a lot of the youth in this community because they're not familiar with nobody in the building. When I was growing up, each community center had one or multiple staff from the community.
Right.
The front desk lady, you see her walking to work. The community worker, you see him walking to work.
How did that change?
Was in there.
We all know it changed, but what happened?
They slowed up funding. There used to be funding. There used to be the city used to provide funding for community roles. And then when they took away the community roles, then organizations strategically just started getting more for less. You gotta remember in the Bush era, when we went through a depression, now it was instead of paying somebody $17 an hour just from their community, I get somebody with a master's for $17 an hour. I don't care if they can connect with the community or not. They're gonna get my admin work done. You know what I'm saying?
And I can justify
we went
what I'm
into
paying
that
them.
mind frame. So now we're still in it. So a community center might got 5 staff when the capacity for that community center could have probably 25 staff in a building full of youth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But we're not going to put that money back. It can go other places. Like cops, overtime, wasting money.
But it's funny you say that because I'm thinking about one of my jobs that I had, 10 years ago at this point, but I was working at a Head Start program in North Philly. I'm not from North Philly. I was a good guy, I was a good guy who cared. Right. I did my job to the best of my ability, but I was they paid me decent money because I had a college degree. I'm not from the neighborhood. I was able to connect with people, but it would have been probably far better to find somebody from that North Philly neighborhood on Cecil B. Moore and say, you're here, because he's going to be there invested long term. I was there for 2 years, helped what I could, but then I left.
You found a better opportunity.
I found a better opportunity, which is...
when that community person is going to be vested.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that salary couldn't be adjusted because, they don't have a degree. You can adjust that, but even with the adjusted salary, that community member is hype.
Yeah.
He's going to show up every day
but
for
there's
that
no reason to not
15,
pay him
$16
the
an hour.
same thing.
And matter of fact, he lives in this community, so his livable wage looks a little bit different. So that $15, $16 an hour could be like, I'm stacking right now.
I hate that fucking commute. I would drive a goddamn hour from Bucks County to go into Philly and then go back out, and my rent was expensive. You know what I'm saying? You're right.
But these are all like, I don't look at myself as a rocket scientist, Jay.
I know.
So these are things that I believe these politicians and these people with money know, but it comes back to the systems of oppression. I don't need community people working in the community centers. They're going to build strong communities. These people are going to get together. Then they're going to come tell me how to do my job and run the city.
This is the most. Now I'm bitching. I'm bitching. But like, the reason that I get so frustrated with this city is because our council this is a black city with a black city council. We've had black mayors. Like, it doesn't have to be this way, and I don't get it. And I'm not going to name names and throw shade, because this is not how I want. Like, I'd rather talk to that person one-on-one, but it's like, I'm looking at people and I'm like, you're the enemy too, aren't you? And it's like, how could you be the enemy when you're from here? Like, but like, basic logic, there's, at a certain place, that's the only thing you can deduce. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you. I feel your pain, and because I have a lot of friends on city council.
When are you running? Let's run. It's time to run.
I'm supporting everybody that's running. I'm not running in this election cycle. It's too late, people. I can't even register to run. I'm not.
I'll be nagging you for the next 4 years. Like, you got your campaign on yet?
But what it takes, and one of the reasons I didn't run, is because myself on city council can't make the difference. Any one individual on city council or city council president cannot make the difference. The city council was designed for a collective people to be the formal representation of each district and to have intelligent and effective debates, political debates on what's best for the city, and move in unison based off of the information and their perspectives of the debates. We don't really have that. We got like a lot of high school stuff going on. I want to be prom king. I want to be prom queen. I want to touch here. Oh, this was my thing over here. Like, in my opinion, we have too much of that, where we need to get more down to intelligent and effective political debates, come into a consensus. That's what the vote is for. That's why you got 11 people with a 12 as council president.
Good system, you know, that should be used.
It's there, so let's do it. And then in administration, we need somebody who not just has a vision for the city's best interest, but for the residents' best interest as well. The residents make the city. So we can't be all cool structurally and buildings and look pretty, and our residents are sick. You know what I mean? Suffering. So
let's make sure, because
I
know we've been.
See, I'm staying clear with the political thing, man.
And
I got bad love for people.
I think there's a time and a place to do all that. You know what I'm saying? And it's not here, because we're looking for solutions. So, bottom line, from your end. And I know it's a big question, and we touched on it, but I want to make sure that we put concrete things out there. Just in terms of the recidivism, like, what kinds of things can we do? We address economics, right?
Livable wage jobs. Startups for entrepreneurship. Right? Continued investment in programs like the Hope Commission.
Yes.
Delaware Center for Justice. Project New Start. Among others, and expansion of grassroots programs. You have no idea how many volunteers in small entities come together to provide services, and if they had the resources, they could reach more people.
Sure.
So we need expansion into those types of services, and then we need a reform within the Department of Corrections, similar to the police reform we need. We need transparency and accountability. And we need to just focus on rehabilitating the people in an evidence-based manner.
So, this is a whole good point. I think everyone is aware of, at this point, the big issues that we see with policing. But inside the prisons, what kind of problems do you see there? Is it basically the same thing, but it's different? I mean, it's a different environment.
I call this similar because you have the bad apple culture within correctional officers. That's similar. Cops are saying, it's only a few bad apples, but they can't find a way to get rid of them. That's similar within the correctional officer culture. But then your other flaws is lack of programming.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Old programming that's not evidence-based.
What are some of the programs that are there?
Key, Crest.
What are those? You don't know.
The same programs that were there in the 80s is the same ones that's there now.
Well, what about the idea that you can go to, there are stories of brothers who come out with degrees. How does that work?
So that's why I was going to say education. So they took the education out.
They took it out.
And kept the same 3, 4, 5 programs that they've been at.
And is the argument that it's too expensive to, what is the argument?
It was money. It was budgetary. But I mean, the proof was it was too many brothers coming home with degrees.
All right.
Finding their own way after jail. So they're like, we got to stop this. But yeah, it came down to budget reasons. I'm sure if we dig into the year they cut it, they probably said the budget and cut education. So now you can get a degree, although due to James Elliott, this good brother came home from jail and is doing amazing things, but he was promoting something that I believe Del Tech has an agreement with DOC, but don't nobody in jail know this. You can't even get your GED. You could be in there for 5 years. They won't even let you sign up for GED till your last 12 months. So they're saying they don't have enough resources for teachers and all this kind of stuff. So you need education, you need additional programming, and you need to change the culture where DOC is truly trying to rehabilitate people.
I'm kind of, as I'm really thinking about it, totally awestruck. Like, what the fuck do y'all do there then? Like, what do they do all day? You understand? Like, what do you expect? We know what they expect. They want you to come back. But, like, I don't know how you can just have, like, what do they do all day?
That's why I said no other industry,
right, with no accountability
in the world can operate like this.
Oh, it's so, when you really understand it.
Well, then you got to understand, you have people in Delaware that say anybody in jail deserves whatever they get.
And this is where
rehabilitation or not. So then that's a whole nother conversation.
And that's
so do criminals belong in jail? Yes. But what about the guy who's in jail for failure to pay fines? He deserves that same treatment?
Yeah, or someone who can't. Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So,
yes.
And then pre-trial's a whole nother thing. So then while I'm waiting to fight a case, I'm not even guilty yet. I deserve that same treatment too?
Yep.
You know what I mean? So.
But even, like, listen, no one is okay with murder. Nobody is okay with, rape and those kinds of, like, no one's okay with sexual offenders.
Right.
But, like, especially as you see countries and different states and counties, I mean, I don't want to start bitching, but number one, just the weed charges alone. Like, that's not, I mean, it's a crime, I understand, but it's really just one level up. Like, like, what, 400 years ago, it was illegal on paper to leave your slave master.
Right.
You broke the law. You broke the law, so you're a criminal. You're selling weed. It's a plant that doesn't hurt anybody.
Right.
Like, and so that's just weed. And you could take, like, listen, obviously I am not pro crack or pro heroin, but, like, and I understand the damage that these things do to the people that use them and all of the markets, the black, but, like, if you just legalize this shit, the black market goes away. And again, there's just there's a big difference to me between a violent criminal and what the overwhelming majority of people who are in jail are there for. Right. Like, what we're not going to do is compare Charles Manson to
a drug dealer. Period.
I'm glad I caught that. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, nothing specifically that I'm promoting right now, man. I really just wanted to have an opportunity to do this podcast just to really be able to let the people know where I'm at.
Yeah.
How I think, to see if it's common likes. I'm on social media, Haneef Salaam on Instagram and Facebook. feel free to connect, though. I'm just about connecting and building right now. So, I'm working on a book that's going to drop soon, but I'm not here to say, call me and I can consult you to save the world or none of that, man. I just want to be able to build with like-minded people, and hopefully somebody watching this will be encouraged to get into their community and get more involved to be able to help others as well.
No doubt. You're very valuable in the best way possible. I don't mean that in terms of like Lamborghinis and that, but like I hope that people are telling you that you are needed and appreciated, because like I said at the beginning, like the work that you're doing to me is the most important work that can be done in the current state of this country. You know what I'm saying? Like getting our young black men free is everything. You know what I'm saying? It's like we act like slavery's over. It is, but it's not. This is all the same lineage of. It's all the same thing, and we haven't solved the problem yet. So
I appreciate that, bro, because I don't hear it often enough, but I just try to remain humble and keep striving for greatness.
We need brothers like you, a whole lot more of them. And I just feel like I don't know if you sense the same thing, but they're just like I moved back to Wilmington about 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago at this point. And the deeper and deeper I've got involved, I just feel like that there are so many small places where there are significant people doing significant things, and maybe it's my imagination, but I can just, if all of these pieces work together and get to the next level, this could be a really beautiful place. You know what I'm saying?
I agree, man.
Unity
and solidarity. I absolutely agree. We have a lot of people who have good hearts in our city and want to see things different, but if we find a way to bring it all together, as small as we are, that seems to be so challenging, man.
Every one of these podcasts, I feel like, well, he has all the answers. Just get him in the right place. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you for your time, brother.
All right?
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that was cool. Thank you.
Thank you.